Welcome back. Today in our Sunday Spotlight, a local mom who has been through some very challenging but triumphant times with her twins. Take a look at them. We're going to show them to you on the screen here. That's Austin on the left, Garrett on the right. This was taken during those early days at the NICU at Connecticut Children's in Hartford. The boys are now 4 years old. Their mom, Julie St. George, right there in the middle of that picture, is joining me this morning to share her unique story of motherhood. Julie, happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. And I think why we wanted to have you on here is sort of your entire motherhood journey has been just that. It's been a journey. It's been a challenge. It started with IVF that led to this pregnancy with twin boys. Just tell us what that process was like kind of to start.
Sure. Yeah, I wanted to be a mom so bad, and it just didn't come easy to me. We went through 7 rounds of IVF. It took us 5 years. Within that time, those 7 rounds ended in 4 miscarriages as well. So it was a really difficult journey, but it was lucky number 7 that finally took, and we were so excited to find out that we were having twin boys.
So you have that news, you've gotten to that, sort of beginning of your goal that you were seeking through all those IVF treatments, and then you have a situation just 21 weeks in is when it started. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, so at just 21 weeks, 5 days pregnant, my water broke with twin A, so just one of the twins, and we rushed to the hospital, and we were told that I had suffered from PPROM, which stands for preterm premature rupture of membranes, basically early water breakage. But that because of that, I would most likely go into labor within 72 hours, and we would lose both the babies. So that was a really devastating time for us, just after all we had gone through to finally get to that point to be told that we would lose both our babies. But by some miracle, they held on for those 72 hours. But then our next hurdle was that we needed to make it to 23 weeks gestation, because that was the cutoff where the NICU will intervene to save the babies. So that was 9 days from when we first came into the hospital to make it to 23 weeks. And it was honestly the longest 9 days of our lives.
And you did make it through there. You made it even a little bit farther, right?
Yeah, so we made it a total of 23 days. So they were born at 25 weeks gestation, weighing 1 pound 10 ounces and 1 pound 13 ounces apiece.
And they both spent time in the NICU. Tell us about each of their different journeys.
Sure. So twin A, that's the one who had the early water breakage. That's our son, Austin. He had a really difficult NICU journey because of the early rupture. He had no amniotic fluid, which basically means that his lungs were unable to develop. So he really struggled with ventilation. We were actually called in on a few different occasions to say goodbye. He was really struggling to make it. On top of that, on his 2nd day old, we were told he had a significant brain bleed, which would result in cerebral palsy, and he may never walk, he may never talk, he may never do anything. So that was a really difficult time, just not knowing what his future would look like or if he would even have one. And so he struggled with the ventilation. He really needed this jet ventilator, which Connecticut Children's did not have at the time. It's the most gentle form of ventilation. Basically, the vents that he was on was just too much pressure on his very fragile lungs. So when we asked about getting one, they said, the staff isn't trained, so it wouldn't be possible. So then we asked about transferring him to a hospital that had one, and they said that he was too sick and he wouldn't survive a transfer. So when he was about a month old, it was pretty clear at that point that he was not going to survive. And one day we came in and the jet ventilator was there. And so was a trainer who stayed for 3 days and trained anybody that would be working with Austin. And that ventilator ended up saving his life. So we're really grateful to Connecticut Children's who made that happen for us.
And so that's Austin's part of the journey, baby A, as you said at the beginning.
Yes.
So tell us about baby B, Garrett.
So Garrett had a more typical NICU journey, so to speak. It wasn't easy by any means. He still had a PDA ligation, which is basically a heart surgery, before he even weighed 2 pounds. He spent a total of 136 days in the NICU. He came home at 5 months old with a G tube. His journey felt easier to us compared to his brothers, but he still, spent a significant amount of time there as well.
And now the boys are 4. They're in preschool?
Yes. Yep. They're 4. They're in preschool. They're doing great. They're both playing t-ball, so that's really fun. They have a lot of energy. Life is chaotic. All that good stuff.
I think it would be easy to hear your story and say, oh my gosh, Julie, that I feel so bad for your family for what you went through. But you talked about how hard you fought for these boys in the beginning to have this pregnancy. So on this Mother's Day, what do you tell anyone watching, other moms, anyone who's watching, about getting to this point and fighting through all this?
Yeah, I mean, I think we fought really hard to have them, and then we fought really hard to keep them. I mean, and I hadn't even mentioned that yet, but even after Austin's lung disease in the beginning, and then he ended up with a tracheostomy, and he was about to come home from the hospital for the first time right before he turned 1, and then about 10 days prior to that, they found a mass on his liver, and he goes on to be diagnosed with stage 3 hepatoblastoma, which is liver cancer. So then his discharge is canceled. He spends another 6 months in the hospital getting a 6th round of aggressive chemotherapy. He has 2 surgeries. They remove 70% of his liver as well as both the tumors, and he ends up spending a total of 18 months in the hospital, 538 days before he's finally able to come home to us. So I think for me personally, I mean, Mother's Day, I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to have these children and, have living, breathing children when there was 2 of them that for a time we thought may not happen. So I think, we just don't take any day for granted with them.
You gestured and touched your chest, and I saw your necklace there says Mama on it. And what have you learned about motherhood through what your family's been through?
I think for me, I learned how to advocate, how to research, how to be the voice for your children that, can't speak for themselves yet. I learned that your gut as a parent tends to be right, and to trust that. And I think a lot of people can probably relate to that.
And how about the care they received? I mean, not very many years ago at all, they probably would not have been able to survive. And here they are playing t-ball, like you said. Mm-hmm. The technology, the caregivers, I mean, it must just be amazing to see those little boys.
Yeah, absolutely. And even that ventilator I had talked about that Connecticut Children's didn't have at the time, after Austin left, they added them to their budget. So now they have 2 there so that they can save more babies like Austin in the future. So just every day, they're making more and more advancements in that space. Every day, I mean, I've heard more and more hospitals are now resuscitating 22-weekers, not just 23. So it just advances all the time, and it's really amazing. And we're so grateful that things happened the way that they did happen at the time that they happened. And it all, obviously worked out really well.
We wanted to have you on because it was, such a battle for you in motherhood to, like you said, to fight for them and then to fight to keep them. We have 30 seconds left. Is there some advice you would give to some other mom, maybe who had big challenges like you, or maybe whose kid just won't sleep through the night? Is there something that you've learned now that your boys are 4? Maybe someone's got a newborn at home. Can you give them in 10 or 15 seconds some advice?
Yeah, I mean, just take deep breaths, take time for yourself, have that glass of wine if you need it, and, just keep fighting and take one day at a time. And I know that's an old cliche, but it's really true. All
right, Julie St. George, happy Mother's Day to you. We're so happy to share your story and see those pictures of those great boys. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much.
That is our show for this week, CT23. We'll be back next week, of course. CBS Sunday Morning is up next. Have a great rest of your weekend and a very happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. We'll meet you back here in Studio A next Sunday morning.